right, many in the possessed hand world are Denver Broncos fans. Marvel has their what if, possessed hand is going to do the same thing. The once proud franchise that rarely knew losing seasons has become one of the worst teams in the league, and it seems to get worse and worse every year. They have turned into the NFL equivalent of the kid in school who can't get any girls and gets caught at the school dance with boogers hanging out his nose and a paper ass gasket hanging around his Oshkosh Bigosh slacks. How did they get there? Bad signings, bad coaches, Peyton Manning not wanting to play until he's 45 like Tom Brady? Sure, but as the Marvel Universe loves to play what if, here we go. Possessed hand, we believe that the Broncos doomed themselves in a few drafts and missed opportunities, so we're going to play what if Denver Broncos style. Let's go back a few drafts. Forget about a quarterback in 2021 when they took Patrick Surtain. He's a very good player. And let's forget about the late round offensive lineman that Mike Shanahan was always good at finding. Let's go to the first couple of rounds of the 2020 NFL Draft. The Broncos selected Jerry Jeudy with the number 15 pick in the draft, when 7 picks later, Justin Jefferson went to the Minnesota Vikings. Then in the second round, they selected KJ Hamler, and 6 picks later, Jalen Hurts goes to Philadelphia. What kind of team would this be with Justin Jefferson catching passes from Jalen Hurts? With Jalen Hurts, would the Broncos have given up 50 current or future players to get a washed-up Russell Wilson? Would the Broncos have been patient enough to relax and wait for Jalen Hurts to turn into a player like Philadelphia was? Who knows? But those are a pretty good couple of players they could have had there. Let's go to 2019, the pick of Noah Fant. It was a curious one considering that the tight end couldn't even start in college and was projected to go in the third round. Between dropping passes, however, he did as a rookie show some flashes at times, but nothing to make him worthy of a first-round pick. Deebo Samuels went a few picks later in the top of the second round. Elgton Jenkins, a Pro Bowl center from Green Bay, was picked 24 picks later. The one that may hurt the worst, however, is that DK Metcalf was taken 40 picks later, and that's 22 picks after they took Drew Lock. Hell, if you want to look at it that way, not only did they pass on DK Metcalf twice, but also A.J. Brown twice. A.J. Brown's catching passes right now, left and right, from Jalen Hurts in Philadelphia. 2018. Besides the fact that they took an often injured Bradley Chubb in the first round and passed on some pretty good offensive linemen, they also passed on not only Josh Allen a couple of picks later, who played college football just a couple of hours from Mile High, but also Lamar Jackson at the end of the first round, who has an MVP trophy to his name. And a team that needs offensive linemen badly took Royce Freeman in the third round, a half a round ahead of Orlando Brown Jr., who just signed a franchise tag in KC to start against them twice a year. Let's go to 2017. You can hear Bronco Nation getting concussed, shaking their heads. They picked Garrett Bowles. Would TJ Watt have looked good in a Bronco uniform? He was picked 10 picks later. What about Dalvin Cook, who was picked 21 picks later? If you're just going for O-lineman, you got Cam Robinson. He was picked a few picks later. Been pretty solid, starting 61 games for the Jags. He hasn't led the universe in, holding calls. After the Broncos took DeMarcus Walker in the second round, offensive lineman Deion Dawkins, a Pro Bowler in Buffalo, was taken, as well as Alvin Kamara, and all-world grabbing more balls than a 10th grader with jock itch wide receiver Cooper Kupp. Oh, and just for good measure, George Kittle was taken in the 5th round, 1 pick after they took Jake Butt. Insert your own asinine butt joke right here. Let's go to 2016, the beauty of beauties. The man who makes Jay Cutler look like he gave a shit, Paxton Lynch. Never mind that they could have gotten Dak Prescott, who was on their radar in the 4th round, but could have taken Chris Jones, who beats their heavily padded rear ends with the Chiefs twice a year, Derrick Henry, who's one of the rare running backs who can win a game on his own, Austin Hooper, a solid tight end, Justin Simmons, who they did take, and Dak Prescott that year. They could have had all of them. How about throwing in Tyreek Hill in the 5th round that year? In 2015, they took Shane Ray in the 1st round, Ty Sombrero in the 2nd. There's way better players they could have had. Stephon Diggs did go in the 5th round that year. How about you go back to 2012 when the Broncos took Brock, I barely started in high school and college, Osweiler in the 2nd round, when Kirk Cousins and now Bronco Russell Wilson were still on the board. Josh Norman was taken in the 5th round that year, as well as future Pro Bowler Vontaze Burfict. He went undrafted. They lacked Mike Shanahan's ability to pull out gems late in the draft, and although he had turned stale in Denver when he did leave, Elway did try to bring him back a few years later just to get shut down by Joe Joe Ellis, who would be out of a job in a few years when new ownership came in anyway. Speaking of Shanahan's, they could have hired Kyle Shanahan, but instead went with Vance Joseph. Although Joseph's record might be better when you take into consideration Kyle's record without Jimmy G. But with Jimmy G, Kyle has had the 49ers to a couple of NFC championship games and a Super Bowl. Hopefully when he gets fired in a couple of years for pushing them to draft Trey Lance, maybe we can get him to come to town and have an offense that scores more than 14 a game. It is a decade of errors and revisionist history. However, many of these moves were in play and they chose to go a different direction. One missed pick can be the difference between a winning franchise and a joke. With that being said, this has turned a proud franchise into a long-running whoopee cushion fart joke, and it might just be getting a little hot and wet in there. Josh Engleby signing out.